Cups of tea are a big deal in dementia units, and as dementia residents say, there's nothing nicer than a lovely hot cup of tea. And it's actually incredible for the escalated dementia residents. If you give them a cup of tea at the right time, in the right way, just how they like it, it's amazing how they'll de-escalate just through having a cup of tea and maybe a piece of cake with it. So that's why morning and afternoon tea are very important occasions in dementia units, especially for this elderly generation who love having their cup of tea. I mean, some have coffee and Milo, but by far the majority enjoy their tea. And especially when it's served exactly how they like it, 2 sugars, no milk, hot, not so hot, whatever arrangement they like. They get it exactly as they like it. And of course, the carers actually go to a lot of trouble to give the person the cup of tea in the way that they like it. No doubt there's a list written out. It's actually a bigger job giving out cups of tea than what you think. I've done this on a few occasions and it was actually quite strenuous, almost stressful with having to get it all So anyway, you've got this big list, and then you just have to really make sure that you're giving the right version to the right person, because if you don't, they'll call you out on it. And especially if relatives are there, they'll tend to sort of, comment if you're not giving the right arrangement to the person. If you're giving milk and they're meant to have no milk, because of course some dementia residents find it difficult to speak naturally with aphasia and problems with speaking. So that's why it's helpful if the relative can be there at morning or afternoon tea on occasions to be able to make sure that their family member is getting their cup of tea and their coffee in the way that they like it. Because even though it's written in the charts, even though that will be transferred to the carers, it's always easy for information to get missed. And there could be just some little thing. Maybe your parent has, saccharin tablets that you've brought in specially for them to have with their cup of tea, but they've got lost. People have forgotten about it. It's been missing in the clinical notes. And so your parent's been having tea in a way that they don't like it. They've always had saccharin tablets or sucralol all their lives, and you thought that they had been receiving that. Anyway, if you go practically, sit there with your parent, morning and afternoon tea at various times, and make sure that the tea's being served in the way that they like it. Once the system's in place, and once you've gone 2 or 3 times and you're noticing that, well, now it's, everything's in sync, your parents getting their tea as they like it, they're getting their saccharin tablet, hot milk, whatever, and it's all in sync and in flow, then it will be into the routine. Once things are in a routine at a dementia unit facility, it will carry on like that, no problems. But it's the setup sometimes, it just takes a little bit of teasing out. And if you're there for that, it's a great help. Same with meals, to go to meal times as well, and just make sure that your mother is getting the food that she likes and the portions that she likes, even though it's written in the charts, even though you may have written it down as to how much she likes and her preferences of food. Still, things can change along the line, and if you're there at the meals, then you can just make comment then if your mother's getting portions that are too big, and that puts her off her appetite, whereas if she has a smaller portion, it's easier for her to eat. There's always little things like this, and it's these little things, actually the tiny little important things, if you're there to be able to be the witness, observer and voice for your parent to the carers in charge, nurse, clinical nurse, whatever, and ask for it to be put in the notes. Whatever little thing, ask for it to be put in the notes. And then the carers down the line, the main carers, the weekend carers, the fill-in carers, it's all written there for them to read. So this marvellous cup of tea. Now, the other thing is that relatives can also make a cup of tea outside morning and afternoon tea time. A big treat, by the way, to get a cup of tea outside morning and afternoon tea time. And especially if it's served with home baking, that's like the biggest event out. So that in itself can be a bit of a mission initially, because you have to know where the key to the hot water cylinder is. Make sure you'll be told that, but sometimes the carer or staffer takes off with it if they're and so it's a bit of a mission to find the key. But go to the charge nurse. Generally she'll know what's going on in terms of that sort of thing. Get the key and make sure that there's no residents around. Hot water, boiling water, you don't want them exposed to that. Also the fridge, you'll need to know where the same key for the hot water cylinder and the fridge. So once that's sorted, then you can get the milk from the fridge, the tea is public, and the cups, saucers, easy to find. Main thing is that hot water cylinder. Then lock it up and then put the key back in the place that it's usually kept. Just find out where that is. But if you can make cups of tea for your relative, and you're welcome to make that as long as you follow this procedure. If you make a cup of tea for your mother and you find it, really settles her down and calms her down, it's a good thing to do each time you visit, to make her a lovely cup of tea and have some home baking. And then it just gives that little bit of extra liberty. I mean, residents are always wanting a cup of tea outside morning and afternoon tea time. There's really any time to give it to them, because everyone is always so flat out. Sometimes, if you've got a bit of spare time, you might give someone a spare cup of tea. But, an extra cup of tea, but there's not usually time for it. Whereas if you're a relative and you can do that for your mother or parent, it's a big treat. And treats are important because, they fill us with endorphins and happy chemicals and all the rest of it. Specialness. So these two books on this topic and more, The Resident's Voice and The Resident's Rise, both from a dementia unit, on Amazon, all versions including ebook, and my website description below. Thank you for your comments and subscribing, and please pass on the links. Thank you.